The 7 times Jesus bled. The shedding of Jesus' blood during his crucifixion is deeply symbolic, with each instance revealing a unique aspect of his redemptive work for humanity. First, Jesus prayed earnestly until he sweated drops of blood. In Luke chapter 22 verse 44, the New King James Version declares, "And being in agony, he prayed more earnestly. Then his sweat became like great drops of blood falling down to the ground." In the Garden of Gethsemane, Jesus prayed with such intensity that his sweat turned to drops of blood. This is a rare medical condition called hematidrosis, typically brought on by extreme stress. Jesus was anticipating the immense suffering that lay ahead. Not just the physical pain, but the spiritual burden of carrying the sins of the world. His blood in this moment represents the victory over the power of fear, anxiety, and overwhelming sorrow. He made a way for us to experience peace and strength in our darkest hours. When we face times of distress, we can remember that Jesus bore our emotional and spiritual anguish, and in return, he offers us his peace. Secondly, Jesus bled when he was struck in the face with blows, fists, and rods. In the book of Matthew chapter 26 verses 63 to 67, the New King James Version says, "But Jesus kept silent. And the high priest answered and said to him, I put you under oath by the living God, tell us if you are the Christ, the Son of God." Jesus said to him, "It is as you said. Nevertheless, I say to you, hereafter you will see the Son of Man sitting at the right hand of the power, and coming on the clouds of heaven." Then the high priest tore his clothes, saying, "He has spoken blasphemy. What further need do we have of witnesses? Look, now you have heard his blasphemy. What do you think?" They answered and said, "He is deserving of death." Then they spat in his face and beat him, and others struck him with the palms of their hands. As Jesus stood before the Sanhedrin, he was struck in the face, beaten with fists and rods, enduring severe physical abuse. Even though he was completely innocent, Jesus bore the physical and emotional pain inflicted upon him. This represents humanity's rejection of God's love and truth. Yet, in his silence and submission to the Father's will, Jesus showed unparalleled love for us, even for those who inflicted the pain. His endurance of this brutal abuse allows us to find grace and strength when we face rejection or persecution for his name's sake. Thirdly, Jesus bled when his beard plucked out. In the book of Isaiah chapter 50 verses 5 and 6, the New King James Version states, "The Lord God has opened my ear, and I was not rebellious, nor did I turn away. I gave my back to those who struck me, and my cheeks to those who plucked out the beard. I did not hide my face from shame and spitting." Isaiah's prophecy foretells one of the most humiliating acts Jesus would endure, his beard being violently plucked out. In ancient cultures, the removal of a man's beard was a severe act of disgrace. Jesus, the Son of God, subjected himself to such public humiliation to bear the weight of our shame. Through his willingness to be disgraced, he bore not only physical pain but also emotional humiliation, showing his deep humility and love for us. No matter the shame or disgrace we faced, Jesus took it all on himself, so we can walk in dignity and freedom. Fourth, Jesus bled when he was beaten and scourged by the Roman soldiers. The book of John chapter 19 verse 1, New King James Version says, "Then Pilate took Jesus and scourged him." Before his crucifixion, Jesus was brutally scourged by Roman soldiers, a punishment that tore open his back. This horrific act of violence points to the physical healing Jesus offers us. The book of Isaiah chapter 53 verse 5, New King James Version declares, "By his stripes we are healed." Each stripe on his body represents the physical suffering he endured so that we can experience divine healing. Whether we are dealing with physical illness, emotional wounds, or deep inner pain, Jesus' blood shed during this moment offers us healing and restoration. Fifth, Jesus bled when a crown of thorns was embedded in his scalp. In Matthew chapter 27 verse 29, the New King James declares, "And when they had twisted a crown of thorns, they put it on his head, and a reed in his right hand. And they bowed the knee before him and mocked him, saying, Hail, King of the Jews." As the soldiers mocked Jesus, they forced a crown of thorns onto his head, causing blood to flow down his brow. Thorns are a symbol of the curse from the fall of humanity in Genesis chapter 3 verses 17 and 18. As the crown of thorns pierced Jesus' scalp, he bled and broke the curse of sin on mankind. In bearing this crown of shame, Jesus broke the chains of poverty, shame, and mental torment in our lives. Today, his blood offers us freedom from every curse that comes with sin, bringing us into the abundance of life in him. Ninth, Jesus bled when nails pierced his hands and feet. In Luke chapter 23 verse 33, the New King James Version declares, "When they had come to the place called Calvary, there they crucified him, and the criminals, one on the right hand and the other on the left." Additionally, Psalm chapter 22 verse 16, the New King James Version says, "They pierced my hands and my feet." The nails driven into Jesus' hands and feet mark a powerful moment in his redemptive work. His hands, pierced for us, represent the sanctification of our own hands and the work we do. Where sin once marred the work of humanity, Jesus redeems it. His feet, also pierced, symbolize our walk of life. Jesus' sacrifice empowers us to walk in righteousness, no longer enslaved to sin. Through his blood, our work is blessed, and our steps are guided toward fulfilling God's purposes. Seventh, Jesus bled when a spear pierced his side. In the book of John chapter 19 verse 34, the New King James Version states, "But one of the soldiers pierced his side with a spear, and immediately blood and water came out." In the final shedding of Jesus' blood, a Roman soldier pierced his side with a spear, and blood and water flowed out. This moment signifies the birth of the Church, symbolized by the blood and water, which represented communion and baptism. It also points to the completion of Jesus' sacrifice, his full outpouring of life for us. Through this final act, Jesus offers us total redemption, inviting us into a new life in him, free from the bondage of sin and filled with his Spirit. These 7 times Jesus shed his blood highlight the fullness of his sacrifice for humanity. Each drop of blood carried purpose, healing, freedom, redemption, and victory over every curse. As we reflect on these powerful moments, may our hearts be filled with gratitude for the immeasurable love Jesus poured out for us. Thank you for watching. May God bless you all abundantly.